what I mean by the joy of becoming who we
Yeah.
are, it is beyond the wounds that we had, beyond the labels that other people gave us, beyond whatever an individual needs to be beyond until they feel good. Like I feel so good.
So many golden nuggets in this Onward podcast episode with Joy Resor. Joy's grateful she's shining instead of hiding, and she invites all of my listeners to visit her site, Joy on Your Shoulders, to see all that she offers and to sign up for her newsletter. Reach out to her if she can support you. In this interview, we talk about how we can evolve into better versions of ourselves. And Joy shares her story of how she did just that. We can release beliefs that don't serve us. We can learn from our mistakes. I hope you enjoy this episode entitled The Joy of Becoming Who We Are.
Hi, everybody. Welcome. I saw that Carl Sean was already here. He was anticipating a really good interview, and he says this should be an awesome conversation, Emily. Looking forward to hearing Joy Resor, and I'm looking forward to it too. This interview's been scheduled for a while, so we're finally getting to do it. So I'm going to bring Joy on. Hi, Joy.
Hello, Emily.
And we're going to be talking about the joy of becoming who we are, right? Explain, because when I go live, what I used to do is I used to do my Onward podcast interviews by Zoom. And then I'd get the interview done. And then when I was getting ready to publish it, I'd have to think of what title am I going to pick? What's a good title? So now I go live. I want to put the title up front. So I asked my guests, well, what would you like the title to be? And that's what you said, the joy of becoming who we are. So what do you mean by that? Oh my gosh, Elise, you are such a good supporter of this show. I know it's like 1 or 2 in the morning where you are. So thank you so much for watching.
So you ask the question again.
Yeah, just like, what do you mean by the joy of becoming who we are? Aren't we already somebody? Or what do you mean by becoming? I guess I know you mean we're always changing, but I'd like to hear your explanation.
What I meant by it is becoming our authentic selves.
Mm.
So I was always Joy. I was given this birth name, and I was Joy, but I also, so much of me was squashed in my family. So people told me to go away, to, this whole history of mine that I can give this much or this much, that it's been about 10 years that I've really been who I am.
Wow. It takes a while to figure that out. I think it does, to remove all those masks. It's like peeling back an onion and to figure out who we really are, because it's getting back to who you were when you were born, when you were just like this essence of a beautiful child.
Yes. And I think in my case, I had a long time wound. So it wasn't until I was over 50 years old that I was able to shed that thing that was in me, which was that I didn't belong. It was because when I was an infant on an Air Force base, and my dad was in the Air Force in peacetime, I had an older sister. And I had my days and nights mixed up. Now, we don't know. Who will know? Is it because I had to sleep because I had this active older sister all day and I was a sensitive being? Is it that I tuned her out? Is it that I wanted to communicate with God at night? I don't know. But what my family knew is my mother became sleep deprived with me up at night and my sister up in the day. They were able to find me a bed in the nursery at the base hospital. So, as the family story goes, Dad probably uttered this as a joke, and my older sister picked it up and she sassed it at me. Mom and Dad put you back in the hospital because you cried too much. Then they got the wrong baby back. You really don't belong in our family. And she said it and she said it and she said it. And the thing is, Emily and listeners, when she stopped saying it, it was in me on repeat. And I grew up as a person who never felt that I belonged, not in my family, the pain I was in to walk across the high school gym in front of the bleachers because I had this sense that I didn't belong with the kids. At a dance, I would wear a really bright dress because my mother loved me in bright colors. And everyone else, all the girls at the dance were wearing pastels in whatever year that was. So I just had this very crazy sense of not belonging. And this is probably what I mean by the joy of becoming who we are. It is beyond the wounds that we had, beyond the labels that other people gave us, beyond whatever an individual needs to be beyond until they feel good, like I feel so good. And I used to like dressing, I used to try on an outfit and be like, it's not right, and try on another one and another one. But the not rightness was not about the outfit, it was my feeling in me. And now I'm in the shower and I picture what I will go and put on.
That's I have so many questions. I want to welcome, we've got Russ Hedge here and we've got Daniel Hall. Let's see.
And Russ, I heard part of your interview with Russ.
Yeah. Russ just
Yeah.
celebrated a year of having his book out. So, and Carl, Sean, and Elise, thank you guys all for joining. I really appreciate it. I know Joy does too. So
Yeah, it's nice. Yeah.
Yeah. And so let me see, when you were younger, were you conscious, like really conscious of this feeling of not belonging, or was it, and could you articulate it to your parents, or was it kind of a subconscious thing, your unconscious?
Yeah, it never would have occurred to me. I think that the consciousness came of it way later.
Mhm.
When I started writing, and I have been a journal writer for decades, and I have all of my journals in bins. And when I was in my 30s, I started writing a prayer to become the joy I was intended to be. I had a sense that I was a person named Joy with wounds. And I feel that my life, because I desired to become authentically who I really, really am, that I felt like I was led to the right books, the right classes, the right healers, because my husband moved me from Northeast Ohio to the mountains of Western North Carolina and asked for a divorce the following year. But he moved me to an area with a bazillion healers because we're near Asheville, North
Asheville, yeah.
Carolina. Yeah. So I would go to a healer and she would send me to another healer. You need to work with my friend, because I had so many issues in me, the sister issues, the mother issues, the father. My dad was a verbal abuser. My mother was so perfectionistic that I could look so good to go out and she would notice the scuff on my shoe. So I'm a recovering perfectionist. I feel like I crossed the bridge from fear to love. And that was when the year we moved from Northeast Ohio to North Carolina, because I've also lived in immense synchronicity, Emily. Do you know
Uh-huh.
what that
Yeah, I've
is?
interviewed a guy named Sky Nelson, and we talk about synchronicity a lot on those episodes. Yes, but you might want to
So,
explain it because we got so many new listeners here. Thank you all. Yeah, someone said Masco said, "Yay, Asheville." Yeah, I know Masco's moving there. So yeah, so explain synchronicity before you.
well, for me, I don't know the exact meaning, but for me, it's the what I am going through, and then something happens that is just so exactly right for me. Or I would write a prayer for a friend I hadn't seen in a really long time, and then I would run into her in the grocery store.
Yeah.
It's that connection of the inner and the outer that just feels aligned in that way. And so the year I took a journaling class every May and June with a particular group of people. And it would be various topics every year. The teacher is amazing. And I've told her she would lead a class on friendship, and she'd give us all these quotes from different books about friendship for us to reflect on and write about. The next year, it would be raiment of meaning about the clothes that we wear. The year we were moving away, the topic is letters to the future. It could not have been more perfect for me
Right.
because writing to my future, living on a mountain top in a house with my husband, I was able to shift from being afraid of this move because I had been an Ohioan for 46 years. But I got into faith, the faith that I would move into North Carolina and I would have the most amazing life.
And you did.
And I did. We moved. He divorced me. I attracted this man, then this man, then this man until this one that I'm with, who is the most beautiful soul that I could never have dreamt that I could have this kind of a relationship that I have.
So see, so a circumstance in your life that could seem bad, right? The divorce or whatever, some people might think that's bad, getting a divorce, it's terrible, but you can see the gift in what happened. There's usually a gift or an opportunity in in the things that happen to us, and sometimes we can't see it right away, but the universe
Yeah,
is working in our favor.
the universe working, I have goosebumps, the universe working for us. And when he told me what he told me, it hit me in the gut like a black cloud, Emily. And I heard a voice. So was that my higher self? Was that I'd already been on a healing journey?
Mhm.
And the voice said, take in this darkness. You need it. You are going to transmute it.
You heard that when what? You were walking down the street or when you were journaling?
No, when my husband told me the reasons he didn't want to be with me anymore,
Those are the thoughts.
anymore.
That's what came to you.
That's what I heard inside myself. So, he names this. I did this, I did this, I did this. I don't want to be with you. I felt it in my gut like a mass hitting me, and then heard this inside me. And that was really interesting. Then thinking about it later, after I stayed on the mountain for 5 years, 5 days before I could make my way down to my massage appointment. And she sent me to the health food store to give me something so I could sleep, because it totally was a very difficult situation. The end of a 20-something year marriage. But at some point when I reflected on those words, and I knew, I think we've all known those people that have something bad, quote, bad happen, a hard thing. But 15 years out, they are still marinating in that hard thing. And I had known those women who were still lamenting their marriage 20 years out or 15. And I thought, I am not going to be that individual. I am going to feel this and move through this.
That's so smart to feel it. And I think it does start with being aware enough to say, I am not going to be that individual, and recognizing that you can choose what you want to think about that situation. And you don't need to ruminate it and ruminate over it and over it. Thank you for everybody who's tuning in. Jenny says, thank you for this conversation. I'm so glad I'm here. Cherie says, greetings. She's in Beverly Hills. How nice. And Enrique, yeah, he said he finally made it. Yay, thank you for watching. And we have Pramila, I think, from Nepal. Do you know Pramila? Maybe she's coming from Nepal. I don't know how she found out about it, but thank you for coming and listening. And then Masco is moving to Asheville. He says, remember, the very time for faith to work is when our sight begins to fail. And the greater the difficulties, the easier it is for faith to work. We can see certain natural solutions to our problems. We will not have our faith. Faith never works as easily when our natural prospects fail. George Mueller. And Bernard, welcome. Thank you for watching tonight. So we're talking about the joy of becoming who you are. And so how much older was your sister when she was saying some of these things?
2 years, 5 months.
Okay. So she's just like a little 2-year-old or 5-year-old, and you're a 2-year-old, and she's saying what she's heard, and you're still taking it in. I mean, we all do, and, starting to believe it and starting to. But did you ever have a conversation with your parents like, do I belong? It's probably not something that you would have, right? Or this is how I feel.
I think, they were also saying this. They're like, your arms are too long, your legs are too long. They were also like saying I didn't belong. And I know, it was ridiculous, but what, have you ever heard, Emily? I have heard this, and listeners, watchers, that when we are not in bodies, we are with our same families, and we come back to have a different experience.
With our same families?
With our same families. And they take turns, like I could just picture them saying, okay, Joy, you need to suffer and become a Joy. And we're going to help you do it. Like, what if that was the pact that we were all in on? Because I have forgiven my whole entire family. I have even forgiven the lineage. I had an accidental energy healing years ago where I was able to heal the lineage, because I could tell this story. This woman, I kept getting in car accidents, and I had the error of thought, I always get in car accidents. We create our lives by our thoughts. And I know that now. My consciousness is very wide and deep now.
I can tell.
I know that we create our thoughts, but all those years ago, I didn't. And I kept getting in car accidents and talking about it. I just keep getting in car accidents. So I called a friend who told me to go see this other friend. And I trust my friends. I went to this friend. I didn't know exactly what her healing modality was, but she invited me into a treatment room and she asked me to take off my shirt and my pants and to lie under the covers, and she would be coming back in. She put a pink quartz crystal on my belly, and she invoked the spiritual understanding that she had for the session. And I was lying there and I saw in my mind's eye myself as a sad, wounded child with parents unable to give me what I needed. Then I saw my parents as sad, wounded children
Yes.
with parents unable to give them what they needed. And then it was like a funhouse mirror, because in my mind's eye, it went zoop, like no one in the lineage got what they needed. And then my heart grew in compassion for the lineage. And then energy started flowing from my fingers. My fingers were like this. And how I interpret it is that negative stored energy in the body of me from generations. I was a storehouse, and maybe everyone's a storehouse. I don't know. I
You got a
was
lot.
I had a lot of the negative stored angst from the lineage in me that left me that day.
Wow. So how was your life different like after that day?
Oh my gosh, let me think. I think that was in I have it in my book, my first book I wrote. It was either in 89 or 98. I'm not sure
Yeah.
if I ran across the room and got the book, but who knows? Well, I know the one thing I know that changed after that day, a very big thing, is I didn't get a stomach ache anymore when I was with my parents. And I could see them with more love and more compassion than I'd ever seen them. So it transformed my relationship with my parents. But I know that I've had different wonderful healings and the things that have happened because of it, that leads me. Well, do you have a question, or I have another
No,
place
but
to?
I was just going to say, I understand that because I kind of went through it a little bit when my kid's dad passed away a couple years ago. We're coming up on 2 years, and he was verbally abusive. And I always used to tell my kids, your dad loves you in the way he can, right? Because he had that lineage that went back. You could see it. And it's, but he couldn't see it. And, I was able to forgive him. And that's the best feeling, is to forgive and to have compassion for somebody and to see them as that little innocent child, and to just know, how he suffered as a child, and then how it kind of kept going, and just having him pass away and knowing that I forgave him and that he knew I forgave him. That was so special. And I just wish that for everybody, because I know that there's many people that have, resentment or upset or not talking to somebody or whatever. It's just not worth it.
Yep. Oh, I have goosebumps. We, it is for us to see, because to see one another. What I was going to say is, you were also seeing that he was always did the best he
He
could.
did the best
And
he
that is the thing I understand about every person I ever connect with, that they are doing the best they can.
Yeah.
And I have a 98-and-a-half-year-old friend who's in nursing care in Pennsylvania. but I write her letters and I call her, and she doesn't yet love herself.
Oh,
And every time she doesn't have memory. So every time I'm saying the same thing, I'm like, dear one, can you love yourself today more than you did yesterday? She goes, how do I do that? I said, pick a body part. Love your left hand today more than yesterday. Because what I've learned is love is the greatest healer. I used to be this tight. I was tight. I was in fear and
yeah,
tightness. And I have done body work to chiropractic, Pilates, to get myself. And I am with a man who never interrupts me, never tells me to go away or be quiet, like all the things I lived with as a kid.
yes,
So I've become more of Joy because of Michael. And he's becoming more Michael because of me. When we allow a person to be exactly who they are and we love them, it enables them to change.
yeah, yeah. We, you're not asking them to change. You're not telling them to change. You're not saying, pointing out a discrepancy and say, this has to change. You're loving them. You're loving yourself, and you're changing how you react and interact with that person, and then that impacts the relationship. I can just see you so full of joy, and you're just beaming. And for the people that are watching, feel free to submit a comment or a question. If you have a question that you want Joy to answer, let her know. So some people may not know, like, what do you mean by healers? A doctor? What do you mean by
Ah,
healers?
yeah. And okay, that's a great one for me, Emily. And I don't have the comments turned on because I don't want to be
Okay, I'll read
distracted.
comments, but yeah.
I don't want to be, if I have a question, let me know because
Okay.
that will distract the heck out of me.
Yeah, that's fine. I'll read any questions that come over. But what do you mean by healers, and how does someone find a healer, and what do they do?
Okay. Well, the way I use the term is my dad was a physician. He was a beautiful internal medicine specialist who forbade us to ever talk about chiropractic. He was one of those doctors that didn't believe in it one iota. So here I am in 1996. I'm driving my car to go interview Faith. Joy's going to interview Faith to write an article for the church newsletter. I am the newsletter editor. I'm getting on the highway and this thought comes in about a little bit of fear of driving where I haven't driven. And I bat it away and I pray to be protected. And I'm very close to the sister church where I'm interviewing Faith. When my brain registers that the people to my right, as I approach the green light, I see the people at the red light. They are looking horrified. Just as I am aware of that, this man behind me, see, they are watching a guy in a van with his foot stuck on the gas, and he's bouncing off parked cars, and then he's aiming towards my car to send me through the green light in front of those people. I have goosebumps relaying the story, but here's the thing. I was protected. I lived, but I had neck and back soft tissue injuries And I didn't go to chiropractic for 9 years
Mm.
because I was in the medical model, getting into pain, calling my doctor. He sent me to physical therapy. I was on a treadmill of this thing until I was at a Course in Miracles meeting, if some of you know that book or have studied it. And a friend of mine stood up and she said, Joy, look how much straighter I am standing. If you would like, I will give you the name of my chiropractor and my massage therapist. And I said, yes, please, I will contact you later. And she gave me her chiropractor and her massage therapist. And it was a really big thing for me to do. I
Yeah.
call it crossing a bridge of understanding. And it's really crossing a bridge of belief, because when you are brainwashed in a particular way, you get set in your belief, a belief that I can't go near chiropractic. So there I was with the accident in my body for 9 years until I went to a chiropractor and I told him, I'm like, my dad is a physician. This is really hard for me. And he's like, Joy, I understand. We're going to help you. And you're not going to have to come back and back for years.
Yeah.
And then I want you to see this massage person. And between the chiropractic and the massage person, and then you asked the question about healers. So I call healers chiropractic, massage therapy. I went to a creative, what was she called? Something like a creative something. She's not doing it anymore, but she helped me heal the inner critics in me. in me. I was being beaten up from the inside,
Yes.
after I wasn't being beaten up from the outside. So to heal, to quiet those voices in me,
Yeah.
that's remarkable. I mean, I am I am so healed now. I am so clear that books started writing themselves through me. I'm a channel of these books, but I would say healers. What else would you name, Emily? Would you name other practitioners as healers?
I don't know. I mean, I know
Acu-
somebody who's, yeah, maybe acupuncture. Yeah,
cranial.
Reiki is something that somebody might say is a healer. Yeah. So
Yeah,
even it's
cranial
not
sacral.
traditional medicine, which is, tends to be go take this pill.
Yes, these what I call healers, that for a long time they were called non-traditional, I think. And I honor medicine, I honor
Yeah.
medical, I honor doctors and nurses, but I also honor the cranial sacral practitioner I see when I used to have falls, and she would put me back together like Humpty Dumpty. The acupuncturist I have been to, the Reiki, I've been to a lot of healers. But, after waiting 9 years to heal something in me, I am not that person anymore. Now, I'm not running right to a healer or the doctor, but if something happens to me of a medical situation, I breathe into it and I think I'm going to give this a couple days and see if this can. Our bodies are self-healing machines.
Yes.
And I will see if I can rest and heal myself, or do I need support? Because this is another thing I've learned. When I was really a neglected child, an astrologer that I had a reading once said, you were neglected. And I had never thought of it that way. I thought, oh, mom's living in her head because dad's abusing her,
Yeah.
verbally abusing her. But I really was rather neglected. So for me to have support in the ways that I do I have taken Pilates every week for 12 years. That helped me go from this to this.
Mm-hmm.
I get massages every month these days. I've had different intervals. When my body needed it more often, I would go more often, but I believe in supporting ourselves.
Yes, yes, definitely. So Jenny Dilt says, I think our experiences are absolutely and perfectly tailored to us to help us become the people we can become, who we're destined to be, to live to our full potential. Everybody that I agree, Jenny, and everyone we run into in our lives is teaching us something about ourselves if we pay attention, right? It's like
Yeah.
our life is, it's like we have a curriculum and we don't know everything that we're going to, encounter, but yeah.
Oh, thank you. Yes, Jenny. I'm pretty sure I was meant to heal into to who I am so that I could write these really good books, these
Yeah.
books
Tell us about
that
your books.
people love them when they love them,
Yeah.
right? Because my books aren't going to speak to everybody.
Mhm.
They speak to who they speak to. So my first book came, Emily. So after this divorce, I attracted different people that I needed. I attracted the first post-divorce man, I call him. And when he and I realized we didn't belong anymore together, we had a very conscious breakup because some woman in my life, I had tea with her and she said, you don't want to be with that man. And I thought about it and I'm like, he's not the right guy for me. And I came home and I said, I don't think we belong together any longer. And he said, I've been feeling it.
Hmm.
We don't. The next day, he came home from work and said, Joy, instead of you moving out, why don't I move to the lower level of our house and we continue sharing this rental of this house? You can have the master bedroom. When he took his chaotic vibration of his papers and his clothes out of that bedroom, I could again breathe into the way I used to breathe into my connectedness with every thing, an entity I don't see with my physical eyes. The God of my understanding. So I'm breathing again into the God of my understanding, and I'm awakened one morning with what I interpret as a direct invitation to write a book. And it's funny because, everyone feels differently about the God energies, like they're outside of us, they're all inside of us. So I don't know. It could have been part of me talking to part of me. But what I heard that day was in 2014 was write a book using the lessons of your life in a way that will inspire readers. So I sat on that bed with my journal and I just wrote down everything that came to me that I learned.
Yeah.
Like, if you're in a car accident, you might need a chiropractor. Whatever people told you, you don't have to hold it. And I want to back up just 1 minute and I'll tell you about my books. But the other thing that happened was in 2011, Divinity visited me and taught me that separation is an illusion. I had been a poster child for separation.
Right. I don't belong.
I don't belong. I am separate from the rest of the world. I don't know how to dress. I don't know how to act. I don't know what to say at the table with these people. I didn't know any. I was a confused person,
Yeah.
like how to act,
Right.
and now I am the clearest individual. I know when I need to speak, when I'm in a conversation, and what I need to say. But so, the other thing Divinity told me that day was, Joy, you just don't get it. with you in matter and me with the power of the universe, what we will create. And so I have been an immense creator with co-creating with the universe.
That's awesome.
Yes, books. So my books are so effortless for me to write. When that first book, it's called Go Enjoy an Alphabetical Adventure. It came out in 2015, and it's essays, questions, essays, and poetry. Because since I was a child, I was writing poetry, letters for the church newsletter, for the high school newspaper. I've written my whole life, and in my journals every single day of my life. So that book, readers love it. In 2020, I did a revision of it. So there are two versions of that book available, the 2015 version and the 2020 version.
Okay.
Go Enjoy an Alphabetical Adventure. The second version has a subtitle, A Relatable Book of Questions, Essays, Questions, and Poems to Ignite Your Joy. So what happened was a lot of people responded to the cover of the first book I wrote, and they didn't look in it because it looks like a kid's book, because my book designers get my joy. I'm so I'm the joy that I was created to be. I have love and peace and joy in my heart. So there's a hot air balloon on the cover of the first version. So when people ask me, Emily, I say, well, if you're newly awakening, you might be more comfortable with the first version. If you've been on the path for a while and you're feeling kind of awakened, then you might be ready for the second version, because I added essays. I learned so much more when this dear Michael, on my journey with all the people, because I attracted different people before I attracted this person.
Yes. Well, what do you mean by, what do you mean by awakened? Because somebody
Awaken.
listening might not get what you mean. Like, what do you mean by awakened? I'm awake.
Okay, so how I use that term is, I'm not exactly sure, but awake to me, it's that we're not in denial about our lives. Like I was in denial about my husband doing what he was doing. I didn't want to see it.
You didn't want to accept it and see it and admit it.
I couldn't. And what I've understood about denial is that is a protective mechanism for us. I wasn't strong enough to know those things. I needed to keep healing and growing and healing and growing, and be moved to North Carolina and live here for a year, and then to be confronted with that truth. So it took me 9 months to heal from that divorce. But the books. So awake. Well, a lot of people define it a whole lot of different ways. And I think, we're in bodies. We are on a dimension of the universe that's called it's the third dimension. We're having a third dimensional experience. I wonder how many of us are aware that there are very many dimensions of experience. In other words, it could be that a healer that is able to heal, but we think that a healer is healing us, but it's really that the healer is awakening in us our healer. So they may be feeling very, very connected to another dimension of possibilities. I think it has to do with limitation and possibilities. Like, I am very awakened into believing in limitless possibilities for my life. So, in other words, last week we bid on a house, they accepted our bid. We are buying a house. However, I never knew the process. My husband always did the thing. We're in the mortgage loan process and we're doing all this stuff. And what my partner and I talked about is, I mean, he's even getting things for the house, a lamp and this. And I said, we may not get that. Like, what if it could fall apart? I mean, this is why I think there's a time span between when the offer is accepted and when your closing is, because things need to happen in that time span, you know? And if something comes out of the woodwork, like if this house fell apart for us, we would be like, oh, that's not the house that's meant for us. We are very aligned in our consciousness of the possibilities that we're living into. And we wouldn't look at it like, we wouldn't be angry or upset, or it would just be like, oh, that's not the house for us.
You would accept what is instead of trying to fight it. A lot of our stress
Yeah.
comes from not accepting what is.
What is because what is. In fact, the first date I was on with Michael, we were at a healing event at the Unity Center that we were going to at the time. And I was in one room and he was in another. And then he came over to me and he goes, this works. And I've learned what he meant. We work so well together. We are not in our egos. Mm-hmm. We are not blaming someone that left. Like, oh, here's an example. He usually brushes his teeth before I do. And there's water on the side of the sink. When I go in there, I didn't have to name it. I simply put the hand towel over the edge of the sink when I use the sink. I'm not gonna, why would I name it? We don't, and it's so fascinating to me how good this is.
I'm so happy for you. It's awesome. It's awesome.
3.5 years of being, and 1 year and a little more of living with this man. And we are ready to buy a house together because we know that this is the best thing we've ever had. And we know we don't need each other, mm-hmm. but we enhance one another's lives.
Yeah.
Immensely. So,
yeah. Let's see, we've got a comment here. Life is a journey and you should find your path. And that means letting go of all the negative people and things, have peace and move forward. And then she rewrote, awake, having a moment of understanding your journey and move forward. Yes.
Yes.
So how can people think we have any questions here? Tim says hi. Hi, Tim. He says hi to you too.
I interrupt. I didn't, and the other books, the ones I mentioned for
the
your
other books, yeah.
Yeah, Designed to Shine. Read Aloud Rhymes for Any Size Heart, and Designed to Shine, Read Aloud Rhymes for Any Size Heart, Volume 2. These books nurture the inner child of adults, which I never knew that until I wrote that, and readers told me that because I didn't try to write my books. They arrived for me to write them to bless where they bless. I also wrote this beautiful journal called Venture to Your Center, Journaling Prompts to Enliven Your Joy. It is no longer a print book, but it is available as an ebook, so you would use your own paper.
Yeah.
But that wrote itself through me with power and play in 2 weeks.
That's awesome to just have download of such good books. And can people, so we were talking, here's your website, joyonyourshoulders.com, and your website's awesome. It's just like so
Oh,
joyful. I was looking at it.
Joy at Joy on your, thank you. Joy
Yeah,
at
Joy on Your
joyonyourshoulders.com.
Shoulders.
That's my email.
Oh, that's your
My,
email. Okay, what's your
that's my
website?
email.
That's your email.
It, yeah.
But I looked at your
So
website. Yeah,
what we want to say to listeners is,
right.
if you want my books from me, because you could Google my books and buy them from a million places.
Mm-hmm.
They are self-published. I'm happy to sign them and mail them to you. But if you wanted them to me, then you need to write to me, because the shop thing on my website's not functioning at the moment.
Right.
But also what I've done this year, actually in the last few months, is I've written chapters in collaborative books. So one of them is launching tomorrow. Yeah, it's called Heal Your Voice, Save Your Life, Volume 3, Powerful Healers, Spiritual Stories. You know, I'm actually a healer as well. I'm certified in spiritual direction, so I'm a spiritual mentor to clients.
Okay, awesome. So if someone wants to
Yeah,
work with you, they can send you an email there or go to your website, right?
right.
And
And
your
write to
website
me
is
through
Joy
my,
on Your Shoulders,
yes.
right? Okay, got
Yeah.
it. So what kinds of things do you work with your clients on? Like what kinds of things do people come to you to work on?
Yeah, they come with various needs, and really we would share a complimentary call at first to see if we're a fit.
Okay.
So the ones that honestly, because I'm an extremely honest person, I have not had a bazillion clients.
Mm-hmm.
But the clients I have served, well, sometimes in that complimentary call, that's all they needed.
Right.
And other times they were in a relationship that they were unhappy, and we talked about them honoring themselves. And could they say to their person, I need to take this time apart to do this for myself? That whole system of honoring ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
I've worked with people who wanted a spiritual practice. I have had a beautiful spiritual practice every day for many years, in the morning and in the evening. There was a perfectionism I could talk about. I'm a recovering perfectionist.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
What is, we have a few more minutes. What is your spiritual routine, or what works for you in the mornings and the evenings, if you don't mind sharing?
Thank you. I'm happy to explain. Yeah. Oh, I wrote a whole chapter on that in the book coming out in December. It's called A Daily Spiritual Practice,
Okay.
Awaken to Unlimited Joy. But yeah, my spiritual practice involves, I write in a daily journal about my day before, anything I want to write about, what happened and how I felt about it, or anything. And then I write what I believe will happen today, because I'm co-creating my life with divinity. I
Mm,
don't know exactly what my days will hold, but I had an idea, that today I was having this interview. And so I write what I think the day is holding. And I thank you for this day. I am thankful to have another day of living.
gratitude. Yeah.
Gratitude. I mean, yes. Then I write in a 5-year journal that my older son had given me. And it's just a little bit I write on yesterday about that. Oh, then I write 5 gratitudes. I used to write in a separate journal. Now I write it in my daily journal.
Okay.
5 things I'm grateful for. And I realize I don't write about things, it's more attributes. I mean, I'm thankful that I'm healthy. I'm thankful that I'm in relationship with Michael. Those are the kinds of things I'm grateful for. That when I travel, I'm grateful we have amazing road trips. So then I read into 5 devotionals, like books that have 1 page a day that you read.
Yes. Hmm.
So I'm reading in the Unity, it's called the Daily Word from Unity, and the language of letting go, which is for the codependent people, that person that I was. That's a very beautiful daily book. And Mark Nepo's The Book of Awakening, Loving the Life You Have, by something that I don't know the subtitle, but it's a beautiful day book. And then I have a Christian classic called God Calling that I read. That's 4 or 5? I don't know. Oh, and then an angel book that I read from
That's awesome.
Doreen Virtue. It's called Daily Guidance from Your Angels. So I read these 5. Then I knock on the wall, and Michael comes into our bedroom, and I read out loud to him. Early in our relationship, Emily, he said to me, "Could you help me have a spiritual practice?" So I started reading to him on the phone books that he wanted to hear. And so now these days, I read to him in our bedroom from this channeled book from Jesus that I've read every day for 6 years. It's called The Way of Mastery, divided into 3 sections: the way of the heart, the way of transformation, and the way of knowing. And this is the most beautiful book that's teaching us we are communication devices here to bring the good, the holy, and the beautiful into the world.
Oh, wow. What an awesome routine. I was wondering, would you mind sending me the names of those books in an email? Because when I publish this, it'll be a couple months from now, but when I publish this as a regular Onward podcast episode, I'd love to write them in the show notes. And even if you're able to just comment on LinkedIn and put all the or send them to me and I'll put it in as a comment. But I just want everyone to, I would love to read some of those books. I just bought a new bookshelf today because my bookshelves are getting full. But yeah, I love
Yeah,
to read. I love to learn. And those sound like books that I would love to read.
thank you. Well, when we feed ourselves, feed the spiritual aspect of who we are spiritual human beings. We are, and that really serves me for
Yeah.
my life. And it's serving other people. I lead a couple of Zooms that are free for women, and we could put that in the show notes.
Okay, yeah, great. So much, Joy, for being my guest. I know it took a while to get you on the show, but I'm glad we were able to do it. I'm very fortunate. I have people reaching out to me. I'm booked through June right now. And so I'm fortunate for that. I'm very grateful that I find good guests like you and they find me. And it's just,
Thank you.
this is so fun. And James wrote, Joy, you brought up some great points. I'm very spiritually in tuned. Thank you to everybody who watched this show tonight. I'm so grateful for you guys. And Joy, any last word that you want to say?
Thank you. Yeah, I would say, dear one, watching or listening, love yourself more today than yesterday. It's important.
It is. Thank you so much. I'm going to put you in the green room, play my little video, and then I'll say goodbye. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, everybody, for watching. Thank you, Joy. I'll be right there.
Thank you for listening. The Onward podcast is brought to you by my company, Emily Harmon Coaching and Consulting. And I love being a coach. I'm so excited to soon be announcing so many different certifications that I've been working on for the past year. Is finally coming to fruition. And I've been coaching throughout this time, but I just keep getting better and better, and I just love it. I love helping people create a life that they love living now. Join me live when I broadcast this show. I broadcast it live typically Wednesday evenings at 7:30 Eastern, and you can connect with me on LinkedIn or subscribe to my YouTube channel so you don't miss an episode. Have a wonderful day. Let's move onward together.